Okay guys, so for today's video, the idea came to me, the inspiration for this video, because I was talking to one of my guys, Nick Chandler, about his deadlift, and he said that he was trying to dial in his slack pull on the first rep of his set that I had him doing, and it made the rep all wonky. It almost turned into a paused rep, and after that they looked fine. But it made me think of this, and I basically wanted to give one methodology on each of the main lifts that people use that we often hear is the right thing to do, is good advice that I think completely backfires. So this is something that I would go against the general train of thought with, as far as these are cues you often hear that are good cues that, you know, lifters say you should be doing, that I think throw people off more than anything. So for deadlift, we'll start with deadlift. I think slack pull is a very overrated, almost detrimental concept for a lot of folks. And really, slack pull comes into play when you're using pound plates, where the plates are way out to the end of the bar. So bumper plates can do this as well. So when you get these weights where they're way out to the end of the storage basically on the bar, or if you're using a deadlift bar with these plates and there's a lot of bend to it, then slack pull may have merit. But unless you're doing deadlift bar with bumper plates, or a deadlift bar with completely loaded up with six plates per side and up, then I don't really think slack pull is necessary. So that eliminates probably 85, 90, 95% of people. And that leaves, you know, that leaves 95% of people who don't need to use slack pull. So slack pull, if you're using calibrated plates, if you're using just not a ton of weight, not really necessary. If you're pulling on a stiff bar, not necessary. So the majority of people, I don't think slack pull helps at all. I think it throws people off completely. The whole thing with deadlift, and I've talked about it before, is you want to fire aggressively off the floor. So there's a small degree of tightness that you need to achieve before you actually move the bar. But if you start getting into this methodology about slack pull, I almost can guarantee it's going to throw off your explosiveness, which is going to kill your lift, and it's just going to be detrimental in general. What I've seen with slack pull is it makes people overthink things to a far greater degree than they need to. And it's just not necessary in most instances. So I remember when I first heard about slack pull and I was trying to learn it, and it just like completely killed that natural explosiveness. So as far as deadlift is concerned, let's get rid of the slack pull cue. I think it's very overrated. I think most folks don't need it. It's just one of those things that's just gonna backfire on you to an extent. Let's go to squat. So squat, I was thinking about this as well because I was talking to another one of my guys, Shane, and he was talking about, I've talked to him, and this is even more of a thing with low bar. We often hear about the need for upper back tightness on a squat. So you really, you know, people always talk about retracting the scapula, retracting the shoulder blades, and creating that shelf. So creating that shelf with your traps. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. And I think it's detrimental to achieving a proper low bar position. So let me get into all the reasons why I think this. With high bar, you want to almost be relaxed. You almost want to just have the bar resting on the top of your traps with your shoulders forward, just relaxed. Your arms are there to support the weight, to kind of, but they're not taking the brunt of the weight. The brunt of the weight's on the upper back. And when you get a tight upper back shelf and you go to take your air, what happens is it almost makes this wonky rep on the way down, because you're pulling the bar so hard into your upper back that it creates this like wonky descent where you almost like lose explosiveness. Whereas if you have a very relaxed upper back, you can drop down much faster and explode back up. So with high bar, if you're creating this upper back shelf, people say, you know, pull the bar down into your upper back, get your upper back tight, retract the scapula. It creates a wonky first rep where you lose your explosiveness. Whereas if you just relax and just let the bar kind of chill there without being super tight, you're not going to have that problem. You're just gonna have a normal drop and you're gonna be able to explode back up. And what happens is when you go for this upper back shelf with low bar, it's even worse because it makes it to where you're much more limited with your shoulder mobility. So if you're just kind of relaxed with your shoulders rounded forward, you can wedge that bar way lower. And when you get that bar lower, you have much better leverages to where you can use your low back a lot more and get the weight up without pitching forward. When people get a tight upper back shelf on low bar, it turns into mid bar. I would argue it's very difficult for most people to achieve a proper low bar position when they have the upper back shelf because the bar can't get as low down their back and they pitch forward still. So it ends up being halfway between high and low bar. So if you want to get a proper low bar and not be limited by your shoulder mobility, you have to just let your shoulders relax and then just wedge the bar down as low as possible. And that's going to be the big key. And the last problem with the upper back shelf on high and low bar squat is it puts way more pressure on the forearms and the biceps. So oftentimes I see the brachialis tendonitis right here. I see the forearm tendonitis right up top here. Even see inner forearm tendonitis on the golfer's elbow right here. That's all because you're pulling the bar so hard. You're putting so much pressure on your arms. The more relaxed they are to where they're keeping the bar in place but not like supporting the brunt of it, the less you're gonna have of that. So that's another thing where upper back tightness on squat, let it go, don't worry about it. Stay relaxed, let the shoulders come forward, don't have a super crazy tight grip, and let the upper back be supporting the brunt of the weight. Then with bench, the one that I don't like on bench, do not cue yourself at all once you unrack the bar. You can set up to get as tight as possible with retracting your scapula, getting your feet set, using leg drive. Once the bar is unracked, stop thinking, turn your brain off. I see so many times where someone's thinking about a million things on bench after they unrack the bar, and it ends up making the whole lift a disaster. So initial tightness on the setup, as far as getting everything set with the shoulder blades, the feet, your butt in the proper position to where it's not going to come off, that's all well and good. I do that as well. I have my setup, which I kind of, it's so subconscious at this point, it's just dialed in. But once I unrack that bar, I'm just thinking about firing explosively. And you want a fast enough descent with the bar to where you can fire the bar off your chest very explosively. So when you're thinking about certain things, you're trying to tighten up after you unrack the bar and you're holding the bar in that position for a while, you're draining yourself. You're tiring yourself out, you're wasting energy, you're losing that explosiveness. The longer you have the bar unracked and you haven't began your descent, the more energy you're burning through, the slower your press is going to be. It's like in a deadlift. When someone is fidgeting with their grip for ages before they hit the pull, they're going to be way less explosive. You need to set your grip and just fire up right away. And that's why I have that setup on deadlift where I just get my straps set, I jump to my feet and I explode because I'm not wasting time in that position in the bottom getting my grip set. It's the same with bench. If I unrack the bar and I'm fidgeting around and I'm trying to get tight and set up and get my chest up and all this stuff, I'm in that position much longer, I'm burning energy, I'm gonna be way less explosive. Whereas I just come like this. I always line the bar up with my mouth too. So when I'm getting under the bar, it's lined up with my mouth. That's the sweet spot to where you're not gonna hit the J hooks, but you're also not gonna be too far behind you where you're having to lift it out a mile. So I would argue most people do not need a lift off unless you're on these wonky commercial gym benches that are way awkward and have the terrible J hooks, like the hammer strength benches, the life fitness benches. Those are awful, and I can see the need for a lift off. But generally, the bar's over your mouth, you lift out a smidge right here. That's about as far as it should come. It should just be like that on the lift off, and then we just fire up. That's it. So after the bar's unracked, I'm just right here, boom, boom. There's 1 second, guys. I spend 1 second in that position, and then I'm ready to go. I fire back up with the bar. So the 3 things to recap: deadlift, slack pull, don't even worry about it. On squat, upper back tightness, upper back shelf, don't even worry about it. After bench, for bench, once you unrack the bar, don't even worry about anything, be explosive. And if you do these things, if you throw out those cues that so many people say you need to do, you'll be a better lifter. And this is where I get into these arguments where it's like, so many videos, so much of the advice is try hard to where it's almost as if people are trying to come across as experts and they're trying to change all these things. I'm like, if you've been lifting for any period of time, you're an intermediate lifter, you know what works for you. You don't need to necessarily change a million different things. Like, there's certain things that work for you, and that's kind of what's got you to the point you're at, where you've been training for 5 years consistently. So to change a million different things and try to microanalyze everything will throw you off more than it's going to help. That's why I'm not a fan of it. I see way too much of this picking things apart with form all the time, and it often backfires. So don't overthink these lifts. At the end of the day, being explosive is the name of the game towards achieving strength. Speed and power are what drive strength. You don't need to be thinking about 100 different things. And oftentimes we try to overanalyze our form because we always think our misses or our weaknesses are technical misses when we're not strong enough. So strength is a long-term game. It doesn't happen overnight. Achieving a stronger lifts takes way longer than most people want to realize. It's not a fast process, but oftentimes the reason for your misses is you're just not strong enough. It's not technical. There's no, so we use that excuse way too often. Technical miss. It's not a thing. In 90% of the cases, it can happen, but get stronger. And it's going to take longer than you think, but you have to be at peace with that. So that's a whole nother video I can make, but I appreciate you guys watching. God bless you. Hope you like the videos. Comment, subscribe. Appreciate the support.